$34K, still counting. Then that
$4,000.
is
We'll be having a special guest in the studio, Maria Britze. She's a top-rated freelancer on Upwork, and then she does many amazing work outside of Upwork. She shares valuable content on LinkedIn, and many of us know her. So today we'll be asking her questions. We'll be asking about her experience, her journey, and how she got to this point. Someone out there who is just starting can learn a number of things from Maria. So welcome to the show, Maria.
hi. Pleasure to be here.
What is the most interesting thing you've learned recently, and how did you come across it?
That's a good question. Guess what's the most interesting thing we are all learning right now?
AI. Oh,
100%
I'm
it's AI
correct.
technology. And yes, so I'm constantly learning about new technologies, and also GPT-3 is one of the points. I'm learning basically how it can upgrade my work, how it can upgrade my clients' works, how it can benefit me, my clients, and anything in between. But not just prompting ChatGPT, but I'm talking Mid-Journey for image generation, Jasper and WorkTune for copywriting, Assembly for transcription and meeting note taking. So anything that NI can upgrade and speed up, I'm all into learning right now. It is all over the place, and it's here to stay. So it's revolutionizing the way we work, how we interact with technology. So this is really my main focus right now.
That's amazing. You know, I was reading an article that the author was trying to illustrate that AI is not coming for our job, but the persons using AI are the persons coming for the jobs of those who are not using AI. So AI is a new innovation. We need to step up and embrace innovation. I love that. Now let's talk about freelancing and your job as a linguist. So what are some of the biggest challenges you face as a freelance linguist and graphics designer?
So, my biggest challenge right now is that I don't want to stay only a freelancer. Actually, I'm in the process of growing my freelance service into an agency, which is called Global Readership, where I'm aiming to work on the intersection between design and translation. Because the normal translator is working in text only and is moving the one text from one language into another. Designers are processing images and videos, but also graphics or subtitles do have text. So, what I'm doing basically and aiming to do is to translate also graphic design so it appeals in new cultures. And this is a really big challenge because it is not really well known as a holistic approach. And it is something that has massive potential to bring new opportunities to clients and leads. So, my biggest challenge is to not rely 100% on freelancing platforms. They are a great way to start, but they are nothing for the long run. So, as soon you reach a certain point in your career, it is good to diversify. So, this is a really big challenge right now.
Amazing. So I think you just hit the nail on the head. I saw a couple of freelancers discussing about is Upwork breaking, is Fiverr breaking, the freelance platforms, they're implementing policies that may not be exactly favorable for freelancers. Like what happens if this platform decides to do and undo? Then this even applies to our social media platforms like the Facebook, Instagram, and all that. So I think it's important we start to take our business outside of those platforms we depend so much on also. Though we will continue using the platform, but we should have a backup plan. For example, for our social media, we should have a mailing list of our audience. Okay, so a YouTube channel with over 2 million subscribers presently is undergoing a copyright strike issue, and that account will be terminated in 7 days. So he has been updating us every day, trying to persuade the person who issued the copyright strike against him to please take it down. And that person doesn't seem to be interested in taking down the copyright strike. And that channel of 2 million subscribers will be taken down. So if this creator does not have a backup plan, maybe like a mailing list, so now that he's losing his YouTube account, even if he would have to create another one, he can bring his audience maybe from his mailing list or from other social media platforms to subscribe to the new channel he's going to be creating. So I love that you mentioned that. I expected that we are going to learn a lot, and I think we are doing already. As someone who is considered very successful, what inspired you to pursue a career in linguistics and graphics design, and how did you get started in this field? Why this field? There are 1,001 other fields you could have ventured into. but you chose these skills. So can you tell us why?
That is a really good question. It did not happen overnight, to be honest. It really evolved. But to give you a rough insight, after 9 years of normal school, basic school, I went to IT school. I obviously didn't had any idea that I will end up here where I am today. So, but in these 2 years of IT school, I learned the basic programming skills like SQL, HTML, C++. So I already got an insight into new technology, but it was not really giving me everything. I needed creativity in my life. So I went to apply for several jobs and I ended up working in a graphic design agency for 4 years. And this is basically where my IT skills and my creativity came together to something great. I worked there for 4 years. After that, I wanted to expand. I wanted to see other countries. So I left Germany to go to pursue a bachelor in fine arts in the Netherlands. And this is basically where my design skills came from. But moving from country to country, I realized that many people around me don't speak English as good as I did. So I basically aim to make the internet knowledge for people in my surrounding more accessible for those who don't speak English. And this is where I understood that this is a really great niche to offer linguistic services combined with graphic design. So really, it took years to understand that. It took me 15 years to get where I am. It was
Wow.
really a natural. It was really gradually like I had no idea I wanted to be this what I am today. I had no idea. But I followed my instinct and my heart, and it paid off.
Wow, amazing, amazing. I love this because many of us see people like Maria and then we admire where they are today. We want to achieve the same thing Maria achieved in 15 years within 15 days or 15 months. Sometimes we might be lucky if we get the mentorship of someone who is ahead, but it might not even come as fast as we want. We need to be patient. We need to trust the process. Presently, you might find yourself doing a couple of things, but just ensure that you're doing your best part time. And with time, like the best of you would emerge that particular niche where you would be an authority in. In linguistics, I don't know anyone or in my own cycle that is as good as she is and that is making so much money like Mara. Okay, so that will lead me to my next question. What is your
Okay.
biggest financial breakthrough on Upwork and outside of Upwork? And what advice would you give to someone who is striving to achieve a similar level of success that you have achieved?
Okay. Speaking numbers, my biggest contract to that day is $34K, still counting.
Four thousand
Then that is
dollars.
on Upwork,
Wow,
$34,000.
just on Upwork.
Just
Amazing.
yes, this is a contract that is going on for 1 year now. It's an ongoing relationship. So this is was really my breakthrough when it comes to financial aspects. But I believe my most important breakthrough was actually my mindset breakthrough, which I believe to be much more important. And this was my first full-time contract because this really made me understand that if I hang in there and commit, no matter how long it takes, everything is possible. Like basically, the best advice I could give is to learn to position yourself and your skills appropriately and then set a price and do not compromise on that price, but show your clients how you help them with concrete evidence. So don't go on Upwork and say, okay, I am charging $35 per hour. And then a client comes along and says, okay, I hire you full time, but I'm going to hire you for $10 an hour. Don't accept that. Set your value. This is your price. And whoever is not willing to pay the price, your value, is not worth working with you. So once you understand that also the client need you, not just you, the client, you can achieve everything.
That's loaded. Can I ask you, how long did it take you to get your first client on Upwork? Because I think that is the Herculean task for most new freelancers. How long did it take you to get your first client
Yes.
on Upwork, and what strategies did you use to secure that initial project?
Okay. Do you want the hard truth?
Yes.
It took me 4 months and it was a $10 contract. Yes.
Wait, so 4 months you've joined the platform, you're probably sending out proposals and getting
Yes.
rejected or not even getting anyone's crickets.
Yes.
Then after four
Crickets.
months, you got a job. Wow, that's impressive. So imagine you
Yes.
quitting in the third month or the second month and you're just like, oh, Upwork is not for me. I knew someone who got her first job after
Right.
6 months. Then I think after you break that jinx of the first job, things are a bit better.
It is really crazy. I mean, I think too many people are giving up too soon because nothing great comes easy in life and we just have to be patient. Also talking strategies, do you want to see my first proposal?
Oh yeah, I would love to see that. You can share with us.
Okay. Let me share the screen. It is really funny. Let me share it. So, window, let me see entire screen. Here it is. Down here, you can see my first proposal and that it is a
Okay.
$10 job.
Can we read it out? It's just 2 lines, right?
It is just 2 lines and is packed with arrows. It is hello, my name is Maria Britze, native German speaking, fluent English. I am able to deliver the translations within 1 day after approval. Period. That is it.
Wow.
This was basically my approach. This was my strategy. I guess I was just lucky.
Yeah, you're lucky. I think you are exceptional. You have a special niche. It's not everyone on Upwork who understands multiple languages. Not an oversaturated niche. That could have worked for you.
It is really like that. The German language market is a really big market. I guess in this moment, I was just the first one to apply who was willing to deliver really quick for a really low budget. It was just luck. And as well, I have to say that there is now much more competition on Upwork. When I started applying for jobs, it was end of 2018. So this is a few years ago. And a few years back, there was less competition and people had less learning resources about Upwork available. Yeah, I was just lucky. I didn't had no one to ask to. I had no LinkedIn account. I did not had a social media presence. I didn't learn anything. I just learned by doing, basically. That's why it took me really long.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, so now that we have learned from you, and we have observed ourselves that there is an increasingly more competition on Upwork these days than we
Yes.
used to have back then. What are the common mistakes that you see new freelancers making that could hold them back from being successful on the Upwork platform?
I think most people on Upwork come to the platform with unrealistic expectations. I've been mentoring a few people on LinkedIn and having chats or also one on one meetings. And the most common problem is that people think that it will be easy. Or there is this website, there are job opportunities. Let me apply casually a little bit and maybe 2 3 weeks after I land my first job, maybe a month after, I will be earning a living. But it is not like that. So they get disappointed and they give up. So to reach your full potential, I'd say the best strategy would be keep your 9 to 5 job and use Upwork just as a sidekick. Just have fun. It will take out all the pressure, because humans don't function good under pressure. So it is much more fun and much more easy if you are not 100% relying on that income. And once you got a solid ongoing client base, you can reduce your hours of the normal job and reuse this surplus of time to be looking also for clients outside of Upwork. I think this is a really good strategy to approach. Just know that it will take time and commitment and consistency.
That's impressive. So we should understand that it will take time and consistency, and we
Yes.
should not approach Upwork with a Ponzi mindset of you invest your time today and after 1 month you're already making thousands of dollars. So
No.
it doesn't come that way. It takes a lot of work and patience. Okay, that's a very good one. Maria, how do you maintain a professional and productive relationship with clients, even in the face of challenges and disagreements? Some clients can be mischievous. There are some clients that can just be difficult. Some clients don't know how to communicate properly. They know what they want, but they can't communicate it properly. So you have clients telling you, I want a yellow triangle. Then after spending 2 days working on a yellow triangle, the client says, no, 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 I meant you should do a red cycle. So how do you deal with those kind of clients?
The best way to deal with them is honesty. Like, seriously, if you did something wrong on your end, just admit it and apologize and just make it up. Make up to them, just fix the problem. But don't break your back to make it up to them. I mean, making mistakes is human and everybody makes mistakes. The importance is just to fix the mistakes. But if there is something wrong on their end, you have to tell them. You just have to be honest. Like, there are just a few sincere and honest people out there. And if you are one of those, customers are glad that they have found you. So don't be afraid. To tell a little story regarding to your example with the circle and the triangle, I had this client who wanted an app interface localization, and he specifically asked for an Adobe Illustrator expert, which I am. So I localized the interface, referring to the German terms that Adobe Illustrator uses. And once I submitted the task, he said, "Maria, all the translations are wrong. Do you have experience at all?" And I was like, oh my God, what is happening here? So the first reaction, you start to question yourself. Am I crazy? Like, what's going on? But I went to double check just to be sure. And I took screenshots of the English Adobe Illustrator interface and the German equivalent and sent it to him for review and explained that I am right and that he is wrong, which is really hard to do. And at the end, we figured out in a normal human in a human conversation that he was not looking for an Adobe Illustrator expert, but for an Inkscape expert. So end of the story is that he was wrong. He was really pissed off at first, but we figured it out. We had a professional conversation. We ended the contract. I still got a 5-star review, and it's fine. Like, I think the best thing is to do is just don't take the things personal. People are not attacking you personally if you do something wrong. They are thinking about business. So they don't have a problem with you personally. They just want results. And I think it's good to keep this in mind.
Yeah, you mentioned reviews when you are talking about dealing with difficult clients. And I feel like some freelancers are actually scared of saying anything that will trigger a negative review from the client. So even when they are right, they don't have the confidence to tell the client that they are right. So what advice would you give to such freelancers?
I would say you just have to be honest. People are hiring you as a professional, so you have to be that professional. And being a professional means to know your onions and to also tell to the clients in honesty when they are wrong. But obviously, you can't be rude. You have to have a conversation. The best would be always to show examples and proof with good examples or screenshots that you are right, and just have a conversation, or maybe even a one-on-one meeting. Just talk like humans, professionals, and solve that problem.
Impressive. What's your reaction to the recent Upwork's change to a flat fee? You know, some of us top rated plus, I have a couple of contracts that have exceeded $10,000. I'm beginning to get just 5% off that money. That means I pay just 5% as Upwork fee. From this month onward, now I'm paying 10% again. That's like double the fee. But for new freelancers, it's a good one because instead of you paying 20%, you're paying 10%. So what's your reaction to that and the other policy changes made by Upwork recently?
To be honest, it's a smart move. I just got to admit it's a smart move. Upwork is not profitable as a company for years. You can look that up online. I will not go into detail, but so by going 10% flat, they actually halve the price for peanut jobs, like you say, and they double the fee for heavyweights. So for a $100 job, the fee goes from $20 to $10, but this is not a big impact. But like you mentioned, a 10K job, the fees double from 500 to 1,000. So business-wise, it's a smart move for Upwork. And I think this was their main priority because I think they want to write green numbers and they want to keep their platform up. And I think for that, we just have to have understanding.
That's great. I love the fact that you understand them. I mean, you just reflected something you said during the course of this podcast. You are just being honest, not because you are favored by the policy, right?
Yes, yes, I'm there for the clients. I mean, obviously, I would prefer to pay 5%. Obviously, I'm angry. I mean, it's not cool. It's just not cool. But I understand it because if I was running Upwork, I might have done the same. You also have to think about all the people's life that are positively impacted from Upwork. So they want to keep their service up and running. And in order to do that, they have to get out of the red numbers and they have to improve. And I think they are just trying to get out of that. So I have a completely understanding. Also, we are getting a lot of job opportunities. We meet other professionals and also we benefit from that platform. So I'm also willing to give that back, also if it means 5% more fees on big contracts.
That's great. You epitomize the virtue of honesty. I think that's an impressive
Yes.
one. I was discussing with you some days ago, and then I got to realize that you have your work, then you have your personal time that you use to share value on LinkedIn and a couple of
Yeah.
other platforms. So, how are you able to balance this? Then you have other aspects of your life. So, how are you able to prioritize your self care, your mental health in your day to day life? And what practices have you found to be most helpful?
One of the first thing I started to do is to not accept urgent client tasks anymore, because platforms like Fiverr, for example, clients are used to get results within 24 hours, 48 hours, but I can only deliver good work when I'm well rested, when I'm energized, when I'm relaxed. So I cannot deliver any work, let's say, below 2 days of turnaround time. So I stopped doing that. I added a minimum turnaround time of 2 to 7 days. So this gives me a lot of peace of mind to also focus on sharing value for free, creating new learning resources. And what I also did is to turn off notifications and taking days off. Like when I leave the office, there are no notifications coming to my mobile phone anymore. I turned off all kind of notifications and I just have time for myself. And in this time for myself, I can reflect, I can get new ideas, and I can work really focused on things that I want to share and that is value. And what is also a really important aspect is mental health. I also exercise to make up for all the sitting. Walking the dog, going to the gym, moving your body generally helps a great deal to improve your mental health, not just your physical health. So this is really good to balance.
Very impressive. So I can summarize your strategy into a 5 letter word: focus. It sounds to me like when you are working, you want to be focused on one thing at a time. So you turn off your notifications so you are focused on that particular task or project or activity. Then when you are done with that, you can move to the next thing. Then I love the fact that you mentioned exercise because it's very important. One of the major problems or one of the major risks of being a full-time freelancer is the risk of inactivity. For me, I work full-time as a freelancer, so I'm always in my house working on my laptop. When I want to go out to get food, I go into my car drive. So I'm not really exercising. So I need to be intentional about the exercise I do. I bought a dumbbell, bought a skipping rope, and start to exercise. So now you make me understand that I am doing the right thing, since I can see a top-rated freelancer also doing the same thing. That means there is a high likelihood that many freelancers have to be deliberate about their health, about their mental health, about their self-care, and other aspects of their life. Yeah, thank you so much, Maria. It's been an amazing time having you on this podcast. I know some of our viewers out there would have a couple of questions for Maria. You can ask the question in the comment section. She's going to check it, and I hope that she would be able to find time to come and focus on the comment section to answer your questions. Then you can follow Maria on LinkedIn. Her name is Maria Britze. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, perfect.
She shares a lot of valuable resources for freelancers, for content creators generally. I can assure you that you will get value from her content. Thank you so much for honoring our invite, Maria.